Hello, I'm Malcolm Cox, and this is your Tuesday teaching tip for Tuesday the 13th of June 2017. And today we're talking about the place of mystery in our lessons. In our teaching and preaching, how do we create and use a sense of mystery to get our points across and to help the congregation to stay attentive and engaged in what we are speaking about? And this is inspired by a sermon I heard this last Sunday by a good friend of mine called Leon Watkins. He did a terrific job. It was actually his very first ever sermon, and it was terrific. He was preaching from Luke 20, where people are trying to trap Jesus by asking him about whether it's legitimate to pay taxes to Caesar or not. And he made his sermon spell tax. His 3 points were T, A, and X. Rather clever. T for treachery. A for authenticity, and the X, well, you see at the beginning of his sermon, he said T for this and A for that, and the X, I'm not going to tell you. And immediately we're drawn in. What does the X stand for? What will the word be? What will his point be? And I and the congregation felt drawn into this mystery as to what the X would be. And he went on through the sermon, and the T was for treachery, the A was authenticity, and the X, well, I won't tell you right now. But it was a tremendously helpful technique. It's something that we find used in other branches of communication, like, for example, movie trailers. Movie trailers hopefully tell us enough, but not too much, leaving a sense of mystery. As is often remarked on my favourite movie review podcast by Simon Mayo and Mark Kermode, sometimes there's just too much in the trailers. It tells you everything, even plot twists are revealed. And that's problematic, because then when you go to the movies, you're disappointed because you know everything. We don't want that, and I don't think we want that in our lessons. And by the way, hello to Jason Isaacs. But we want a sense of mystery. Jesus did this, didn't he? Think about Luke 15, where Jesus teaches the parable of the two sons. He says it's a parable about two sons. The phrase he uses, there was a man who had two sons. But then he goes on at length about one son. And I wonder, if I was there listening to him, when is he going to get to the second son? He told us there were two. The first son has this and that happen. He goes away to this foreign land. He comes back. The father throws a party. When are we going to get to the second son? And eventually Jesus does. There's a sense of mystery. There's a sense, well, perhaps a punchline. There's a twist. There's something we're still waiting for. And I think our lessons benefit when the people we're speaking to understand there's still something more coming. I wonder what that is. So we see this. I would suggest a couple of things that will help us to use mystery wisely. The first is this, that we must make sure that whatever the mystery is, it relates to the core idea of the lesson, not be peripheral. Otherwise, the big reveal and the twist become the big thing rather than the core idea. So whatever the big reveal is, make sure it's connected to the core idea of the lesson. And secondly, make sure that it's not too dramatic. It's okay for it to be dramatic, and it should be, but not so much that the congregation feel manipulated. I don't think that's very helpful. So how do we incorporate mystery in a healthy way into our lessons? Well, I'd suggest two things. Firstly, the mysterious thing should be short. It should be short. It should be, that's what it's about. And then we can absorb it, and rather than it need a lot of explanation. In fact, if your mystery needs a lot of explanation, it's actually not very helpful. In fact, it's not really very mysterious. It's just complicated. And complicated and mysterious, in terms of having an impact, don't go well together. So we want something that's mysterious but short, not complicated. The second thing I would say is the mystery as it's revealed must be easily applicable. In other words, we don't have to think too hard about what this means for our own lives. That's the best kind of impact. That's when Jesus got the reaction of the crowd, and people said, oh, God forbid that this should be the case, or they argue, or they're shocked. And that's because they can see the application of this surprise that's now been revealed. That's the most helpful way. And in fact, Leon, in his sermon on Sunday, did exactly that. His third point, this mysterious third point, was the shortest and the most directly applicable to our lives. And I would say if you want to know what that was, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to leave it a mystery. Go and watch what he did and how he did it on the website, the watfordchurchofchrist.org, or you can find it, our podcast. We have a podcast now, the Watford Church of Christ. Look us up in iTunes or similar places, and you'll find us. Listen to or watch his sermon and look for that third point and how he did that and made it a short point and very simply and directly applicable. And I think you'll find this very helpful. Now, I've got a question for you. What do you find is helpful regarding mystery, leaving something unsaid at the beginning of the sermon or pointing to something that's coming later? Do you feel manipulated? What will help us as speakers not to allow our people we're speaking to feel manipulated? How do you use mystery? How do you use surprise in your lessons? What do you find most useful? What perhaps examples do we see in the scriptures that stand out to you that are useful for us to imitate? I'd love to know your thoughts. Please do comment, not just for my benefit, but for the benefit of all the other people who watch or listen to these. We'll all find it helpful. By the way, if you've already subscribed to these podcasts, thank you so much. If you haven't, please consider doing so and leaving comments and spreading the word on social media so that other people can benefit from these lessons. Until the next time, I hope you have a terrific Tuesday and a wonderful week. God bless.